Ingenuity can solve a lot of problems when we get into a situation where we're in a desperate situation. Suddenly, we can become very creative in trying to figure out how to solve the problem that we have. A long time ago, I was went with some other men fishing on Lac Seul, which is a big lake, and we drove up there. We took a boat and a motor up there, and we headed out on the lake. We went down a bit of a river, and then got onto the lake, and we were fishing out there for a few hours, and we did pretty good. And then it was about time to head back, but we could go fishing a little bit. We decided to go to another spot, but we hit a rock and we sheared the shear pin off on the motor, so the propeller wouldn't turn. The motor would run, but the propeller wouldn't turn. Well, we were in a pretty desperate situation because we were quite a ways from where we had put the boat in the water, and we had oars, but to row back would have taken us hours, and it would have gotten dark before we would have gotten back to our vehicle. And the only tools we had were pliers that you use to take the hook out of the fish's mouth, and we had no spare shear pins. So there we were. So well, what can we do? How could we possibly fix this motor? And the mechanic for Beaver Lake was along with us. I think it was Dennis High who was with us, and we were like, Dennis, you're the mechanic. Like, figure something out. Like, we got to do something here. So we got up on shore and we took the motor off and I backed it up there so we could work on the motor. And sure enough, with the pliers, we got the cotter key out, and then we got the bolt off that held the the propeller on. So we got that off, and Dennis said, uh, the shear pin is broken off. Like there's a shaft, the shear pin goes through the shaft, and then it turns, and so it goes fits into the propeller, and it keeps the propeller turning. But it's sheared off on both sides of the shaft. But he said, if we can get a really pointy rock, if we can bang the piece of the shear pin that's inside the shaft, if we can bang it about halfway out so that half of it is sticking out on one side and half of it is inside the shaft, and then we put the propeller back on, we fasten it down. If it stays in place, we have to keep the motor running, but if it stays in place, there'll be enough tension on it to hold it there, and we just have to go back. So that's what we did. We got it hammered out so that half of the pins stuck out of the shaft, put the propeller back on, fired up the motor, and it worked. And we got back to our vehicle in a good time. So ingenuity, creativity saved the day, kept us from rowing for hours and hours to get back to our vehicle.